What if I told you
Мною принято решение о проведении специальной военной операции.
that Russia-Ukraine conflict holds the key to solving one of the universe's greatest mysteries, the Fermi Paradox? Our universe has 50 sextillion planets that can support life, yet there's silence, no aliens, nada. But why? The answer lies in connecting the dots between the silence of space and the nature of Russia-Ukraine conflict, which reveals a chilling universal dilemma that may force every advanced civilization to destroy itself, including us. But does it really mean we'll destroy ourselves? This is why, by the end of this video, we'll also calculate the probability of humanity surviving this century. So grab a coffee or popcorn and get ready to be entertained and learn something new. Fermi Paradox gets its name from physicist Enrico Fermi, who during a casual lunch in 1950 asked this simple question: where is everybody? Why the space is silent? This question was so profound that it shook the scientific community, because even if we assume the chances of intelligent life emerging throughout our universe are extremely low, even then, the vast number of stars and planets in the universe means that statistically we should see other intelligent civilizations, or at least see their signs, like radio signals, giant alien structures, or aliens harvesting energy from stars and planets. But we don't see anything. But why? No one knew the answer to this question until in 1990s, Robin Hanson offered an explanation for the paradox. He proposed that civilizations go through filters on their path to becoming a spacefaring civilization, and there's a great filter somewhere along the way that kills most, if not all, of the civilizations before they become a spacefaring civilization. At the earlier stages, a civilization is not even a civilization but a bunch of lifeless chemicals that turn into self-replicating RNAs. Then, these RNAs turn into complex cells like bacteria. Soon, these cells bloom into a wild diversity of animals who eventually gain human-like intelligence, which allows them to build sophisticated technology to colonize space. But this technology also gives them the capacity to destroy themselves. So the final filter before colonizing space becomes avoiding self-destruction. And we are on our path to becoming a spacefaring civilization, but we've already acquired the technology to destroy ourselves, the nuclear bombs. Considering Hanson's theory and where we are currently on the filter scale, it leaves us with an unsettling question: where exactly is the great filter? If it's behind us, like in the leap from simple to complex cells, then we've passed our hardest test and we're probably one of the few or the only civilizations to pass that filter. But if it's ahead of us, then we're approaching our most dangerous filter, avoiding self-destruction. The Russia-Ukraine conflict gives us a glimpse into what this filter looks like, and it looks a lot like Russian roulette, where nuclear undertones keep adding nuclear bullets to the chamber. Let me show you what I mean. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov warns of World War III if West keeps supporting Ukraine. Putin considers a nuclear strike in Ukraine, to which White House gives 50-50 odds. Russian nuclear weapons move to Belarus. Biden greenlights Ukraine to fire US missiles into Russia. Ukraine takes the shot, first with American missiles, then follows up with British and French ones. In response, Putin rewrites nuclear rules. Any weapon from a nuclear country means possible nuclear retaliation. And then, just to send a message, Putin drops an empty nuclear carrier into Ukraine. But here's the thing, we've been playing this game for decades. 1962, at the height of Cold War, US Navy drops depth charges to force a Soviet submarine to surface. But here's where it gets terrifying. The submarine crew thinks they're under actual attack, and they've got their finger on the nuclear trigger. The only thing that stopped World War III? One officer, Vasily Arkhipov, who refused to give the final go-ahead. 1979, someone at NORAD, an organization that protects US and Canada from aerial threats, accidentally loads a training tape into the live system. Suddenly, their screens show 250 Soviet missiles heading straight to America. Think about that. A simple human error nearly triggered nuclear war. 1983, Soviet satellites detect what looks like incoming US missiles. But here's the twist. It's just sunlight bouncing off clouds. Lieutenant Stanislav Petrov has to make a split-second decision. Follow protocol and report it, potentially starting a nuclear war, or trust his gut that it's a false alarm. He chooses to stay quiet, and he was right. And then later that same year, NATO decides to run a war game called Able Archer. But they make it so realistic that the Soviets think it's the real thing. They start preparing for actual nuclear war until they realize it's just an exercise. Officially, they say there has been 22 nuclear close calls, but who knows, maybe they were in hundreds or even in thousands. We can never know because no nuclear-capable country is going to disclose their nuclear close calls. The point is, we've been playing Russian roulette with nuclear weapons ever since we got them, and we have been really lucky. But what if other civilizations weren't as lucky? And most probably they weren't because of a thing called nuclear prisoner's dilemma. So what happens is that once a nation in a civilization acquires weapons like nuclear bombs, that civilization gets trapped into a nuclear prisoner's dilemma. Because of this simple reason, once a nation acquires nuclear bombs, then they can basically bully any nation, and other nations also have to obey them because of nuclear bomb. So to balance the equation, other nations get in this quest to acquire nuclear bombs. And this is where the dilemma is, because if other nations don't build nuclear bombs, then they risk getting bullied. But if they do, then they risk annihilating the whole planet through a thing called MAD, or in other words, just blowing the whole planet up through nuclear bombs. And maybe this is the reason why we don't see anyone out there. Maybe all civilizations face this test where they have to decide between mutual destruction and mutual survival. And it could be that they all choose, or most of them choose, mutual destruction. And if this is the case, then what are the chances of us making it through this century without a nuclear war? According to experts, the annual risk of a nuclear war ranges from 0.25% to 2.5%. But here's the thing, we need to look at this risk as if it is compounding over time till the end of this century, like interest on a debt. If we take the lowest estimate and run it through the end of this century, then there is a 17% chance of a nuclear war by the end of this century. At 1, there is 53% chance. And at 2.5%, there is a whopping 85% chance of a nuclear war before the end of the century. Fingers crossed. Let's see if our civilization would be able to pass this barrier.